last day for this ridiculous mic stand. Hopefully. Amazon.com comes through. What happened to my card? I said, where are you? Let's see. There it goes. Has a mind of its own. Use a line sequence. So it wants to be there. It wants to be right there. So that means we have to go this way. And then to negotiate with the zero engine. Okay. Ready? Yes. Jaya Radha Madha. Do you know the song, Prabhu? Jaya Radha Madha?
Somewhat.
Get the sheet. We have sheets. We have sheets. We shouldn't impose too much strange Bengali and Sanskrit upon you if we don't have to. Do we have any of those little temple books?
Yeah, I think you have one.
You have one of those?
The temple bhajan book?
Yeah, you need to bring it with you.
Yeah, I do.
Bring it with you. Otherwise, adrift. Okay, here we go. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabitari Jaya Radha ISKCON PPT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Jai. Jai Prabhu Acharya Astotra Sri Srimad Divine Grace. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Jai. Ananda Gopi Vaishnava Jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Jai. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakti Jai. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Bhagavan. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye. Before we start the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translated, commentated, and our spiritual master. And Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. A regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam about rendering devotional service to the pure devotee. All that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost in nil. And loving devotion to the Supreme Lord is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 On the 17th day of May, 2017, in SanDiego, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in Canto 3, the status quo, Chapter 23, Devahuti's Lamentation, texts 4 and 5, and we will chant 4 together. Savai Shivaryastham Manavim Samanugratam Daivargariya Sarpattu Asana Mahashita Savai Shivaryastham Manavim Samanugratam Daivargariya Sarpattu Ashasana Mahashita Savai Shivaryastham Manavim Samanugratam Daivargariya Sarpattu Ashasana Mahashita Savai Shivaryastham Manavim Samanugratam Daivargariya Sarpattu Ashasana Mahashisha
Savai Shivaryastham Manavim Samanuvratam Daivargariya Sarpattu Ashasana Mahashisha
Savai Shivaryastham Manavim Samanuvratam
Manavim Samanuvratam
Daivargariya Sarpattur Ashasana
Mahashisha. Okay, let's see. I'll chant the Sanskrit for the next one myself and I'll read the synonyms. Kalenam bhuyasam chamam karshitam vadacharya prema gankadaya vacha hitata upayapavit saha he karma by certainly Deva Rishi of the celestial sages Varyaha the foremost Tam her Manavim the daughter of Manu Samanuvratam fully devoted Daivat then providence Gariyasaha who was greater Patjuhu from her husband Ashasana expecting Maha Ashishaha great blessings. Translation. The daughter of Manu who was fully devoted to her husband, looked upon him as greater even than Providence. What's the daughter's name? Devahuti. Thus, she expected great blessings from him. Having served him for a long time, she grew weak and emaciated due to her religious observances. Seeing her condition, Kardama, the foremost of celestial sages, was overcome with compassion and spoke to her in a voice choked with great love. The wife is expected to be of the same category as the husband. She must be prepared to follow the principles of the husband, and then there will be happy life. If the husband is a devotee and the wife is materialistic, there cannot be any peace in the home. Vice versa also. The wife must see the tendencies of the husband and must be prepared to follow him. From the Mahabharata, we learn that when Gandhari understood that her would-be husband, Dhritarashtra, was blind, she immediately began to practice blindness herself. Thus she covered her eyes and played the part of a blind woman, blindfolded, for life. She decided that since her husband was blind, she must also act like a blind woman. Otherwise, she would be proud of her eyes, and her husband would be seen as inferior. The word samanuvrata indicates that it is the duty of a wife to adopt the special circumstances in which the husband is situated. Of course, if the husband is as great as Kardama Muni, then a very good result accrues from following him. But even if the husband is not a great devotee like Kardama Muni, it is the wife's duty to adapt herself according to his mentality. That makes married life very happy. It is also mentioned herein that by following the strict vows of a chaste woman, Princess Devahuti became very skinny, and therefore her husband became compassionate. He knew that she was the daughter of a great king, and yet was serving him just like an ordinary woman. She was reduced in health by such activities, and he became compassionate and addressed her as follows. I was born in darkness of ignorance, my spiritual master, Prabhu, opened my eyes with total knowledge. I offer my whole ways into him and all members of Sri Prabhu. So, we're finding out various details about this blessed marriage between Devahuti and Kardama Muni. And why are we learning so much about this marriage, Marquis? Yes, because Kapila Dev, an incarnation of Krishna, is born over here from Devahuti. There are thousands of other marriages, some of them very golden that we could have heard about in Bhagavatam. We do hear about a few of them. But in each case, there's something to do with Krishna. Either Krishna comes to kill the demon, who is the husband, and he's exploiting his concubines. It's like Hiranyakashipu. I think he had a whole. He had his wife, Kutanjiti, I think her name is. And we learned something about that situation because when he went to practice austerities, she was left alone, pregnant, and she was saved actually by Narada Muni. The demigods took take advantage and arrested her until Balaram came out. And so he took her to her ashram and instructed her in devotional service. Prahlad heard it, she heard it, but she's a woman, and she was worried about her husband. She forgot it all, and Prahlad became a great devoter. So there are various other marriages. Sometimes we hear about them as examples of what to avoid. Like the whole marriage and the whole relationship of Pururava and Urvashi, which comes in the fifth canto. There's nothing very transcendental about it. She is sent down as a heavenly lady from the heavenly planets to kind of distract him and then to humiliate him. She leaves in the middle of the night, and anyways, this whole story I won't get into. And suddenly he's bereft of her, and he spends years and hundreds of years going after her. And finally, the lesson comes in the 11th canto. We learned the 5th canto, in the 11th canto. He finally gives it up. He gives up his passion for Urvashi, and he has this Aila Gita, another of his name is Aila, a very nice song of renunciation. Really, am I any different than a worm and stool? Trying to enjoy this body? And now all these years going after overseas, and forget it, you know. It's the song of renunciation, very instructive, followed by Krishna's instructions on bhakti. So my point is that the special aspect of this marriage that we're hearing about is, first of all, she's a great example, you know. But Karbhavuni is a great example also. Now, she performed these services for a long, long time, very humbly serving and serving and serving. She became very weak, she became emaciated, she basically lost her beauty. But she was so determined, just like Gandhari, to become eternally blind when Dhritarashtra, she got married to Dhritarashtra. You know, she's known as the ideal chaste woman. And then she followed him into the forest when he took sannyas, Vidura spoke to her. And then after he burned up by seemingly, I think, self-immolation, by mystic power, you know, she entered the flame. You know, it's just a standard sati ritual. So these are you know, inconceivable relationships that in the present day. And one thing I just wanted to mention, because Prabhupada repeatedly talks about how the wife is to defer to the husband and has to serve him and shouldn't be. This is assuming that the husband is not an out-and-out demon. You have in India today, which still has remnants of this, they read this the way it has to refer to the husband and so forth. And there are hundreds of millions, I mean, you have over 1 billion people there. Instances where the husband is raping the wife in marriage, and wife can't leave. It's like a horrific situation. This is going on today. You know, you even have also many instances could have the dowry system, the dowry. So okay, great. So you get married, and dowry is given. You know, sometimes the poor they have to scrape up somebody and somehow give some dowry. And then within a few months or a year or so, she has an accident. Usually she's lighting the fire, supposedly, and she burns up. Oh, now you get married again, another dowry. This is going on. Demonic, totally demonic. And he marries some poor girl, she got married, she has to get married, you know. Burn her up, and then get the dowry, get another dowry. This is going on. But don't think this is India. India has the highest and the lowest at this point. So so in this instance, Prabhupada said, oh, the woman has to defer to the husband because raping her and plans to immolate her. No, get out of it. You know, that's also there. Just like there are prescriptions, you know, we all, the relationship between the disciple and the guru. It's like that, you know, the service, whatever you say, you know, has to be there. That was Arjuna's whole thing, you know, well, now I'm not going to argue with you anymore, whatever you say, I accept. He was saying it to Krishna. But that's really the relationship, otherwise the transcendental knowledge can't flow. But, in this age, you have to always have a but, because it's Kali Yuga. If the guru goes off the reservation and simply tries to exploit the disciples and is not following, then the prescription in the Shastra for rejecting that guru. One has to use one's intelligence in every step. So, I wanted to read the next one, unless there's some discussion on this one. Because there's, I think, time to move out of this section.
Yeah, I found that interesting. I think with the Janjana Prabhu was saying that if Shastra, Guru, and Vaishnavas aren't lined up, all three aren't lined up, then there is something wrong with. Like,
yeah, the foundation is Shastra.
Yeah,
the whole thing is Shastra. Who's the bona fide guru? The one who's simply giving you Shastra as it is. Mm-hmm. The qualities of the acharya, because we really need acharya. You know, it's a more expansive concept than guru. And acharya means someone who knows the Shastra thoroughly, who lives the Shastra in his own life, and who takes the trouble to preach. And so, the basis is the Shastra. So, if there's some deviation, so we have to also know. A genuine guru will encourage his disciples to read as much as possible, study, take Bhakti Shastra, become them. So that they can know, you know, improve their own lives and also know the quality of who to listen to, who to follow. And the sadhus, they're simply, they're also, you know, gurus who happen not to be a yoga guru. A teacher, someone who is Krishna defines Prabhu always quote this verse. Apichitsura bhajate mamananya bhak sadhureva. Bhajate mamananya bhak. One who is worshipping me without deviation, he's a sadhu. And if you want further definition, you go to the this canvas coming up in a couple of chapters. The sadhu sangashtaka. Tatik shiva, karunika, suridak, savadedinam. Very tolerant, very compassionate, the friend of all, an undeviating devotee, mayanamne nabhavina bhakti kuvanti edritam, very determined practice. So that if you know those verses, then you can see who is the sadhu, who is the worthy guru again. So it's important, and Prabhupada has given us this knowledge, it's available to anybody. So this is, the basis of the whole thing is the Shastra, the transcendental knowledge. That purifies our intelligence, gives us the determination and the decision to follow the principles and advance ourselves, and it tells us who to listen to. In the Upadeshamrita, it's like these 11 essential instructions. Upadesha Amrita means the nectar of instructions, in the essence of instruction. So the first verse is about the Guru. And it gives a very practical prescription. You know the verse? Vato vegam. Vegam, jiva vegam, anuropasta vegam, etan vegam, yogasahita dira, sarvam apinam prithavinsa shishya. He doesn't say anything about knowledge there. He says, here's what, because this is what you can see. You can see. So he says, one who can tolerate the urges, because we have these pushings in body life, human life included. We have pushings coming from the mind, the urge to speak, vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, the urges of the mind, do this, go there, do this, somebody's telling us what to do. And anger is also sometimes a very powerful force that is hard to control. So this is the urgings of the speech, vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, these urges. And the urges of the tongue to eat all kinds of things, right? The speech is already covered. And to eat, taste. So jiva vegam, udaropasta vegam. And the belly, fill it up more and more. And the genitals, they're also that sex urge, who can deny it? So one who can control these, vishaheta, means, is dira, in spite of all these, remains composed and doesn't just yield to the days. You can see, well, this is someone I should listen to. Now, if the person then with all of that starts speaking nonsense, then, but it's understood that in order to come to that point, you have to practice genuine devotional service. Otherwise, there's no question of controlling those things. So the very first verse is who to approach. The rest of the verse is someone to control them can make disciples all over the world. That's what the verse said. So, we're going to read the next verse. I'll read myself. Karma Vacha. So he's responding now. He suddenly has this compassion for his wife. He's been meditating and doing his whole thing, and she's washing his coffins and feeding him and whatever. And getting skinnier and skinnier and emaciated without complaint. And suddenly he opens his eyes after all that meditation. Oh my goodness, he's overflowing with compassion. So let's see what he says. Tushto hamandita vaman viman daya shushushaya padamaya padaya sapokya yodehinam nayamativa soditsa devo navikshita samjita chapitum mararte. You never have to go very far in the Bhagavatam before you get the song singing. This is the leader of the Govinda verse. Karmamuni said, O respectful daughter of SanDiego Manu, today I am very much pleased with you for your great devotion and most excellent loving service. Since the body is so dear to body beings, I'm astonished that you have neglected your own body to use it on my behalf. Purport. It is indicated here that one's body is very dear. Yet Devahuti was so faithful to her husband that not only did she serve him with great devotion, service, and respect, but she did not even care for her own health. That is called selfless service. It appears that Devahuti had no sense pleasure, even with her husband, otherwise she would not have deteriorated in health. Acting to facilitate Karmamuni's engagement in spiritual elevation, she continually assisted him, not caring for bodily comfort. It is the duty of a faithful and chaste wife to help her husband in every respect, especially when the husband is engaged in Krishna consciousness. In this case, the husband also amply rewarded his wife. This is not to be expected by a woman who is the wife of an ordinary person. So obviously there are parallels here, as has been pointed out before, between the service of a faithful disciple to the guru and the wife to the husband. So this point of selfless service, I mean, this is what it's all about. We're not serving our own self, but we're serving the Supreme Self, Krishna. Now, the fact that the same word is used for God and ourselves is indicative of something. And what it's indicative of is that we're part and parcel of that Supreme Self. And so when we serve Krishna, we actually serve our own best self-interest. Prabhu constantly quoted this line from the verse. He would really quote the whole verse. Vishnu. This is a verse from Prahlad Maharaj, and he's preaching to his father. And he's saying how those who are completely immersed in ordinary material affairs, with uncontrolled senses, they cannot understand that their real svarta is Vishnu. Now, what is this word svarta? It's combined of two words, swa and arta. Arta means something of value. And for most people, it means something material. That's why the word arta often means money. You know? But arta also means actually meaning. That's another meaning of the word arta is meaning itself. The arta of a word or a passage. But it also means anything of value. You know? And swa-arta means something really valuable for the soul, not just for the body, for the false self, but for the real self. That's called swa-arta. Now, people are busy placing value on things that have no value. This is what Maya does. It completely illusions you. The value of working all the time for material things. It ultimately turns to dust. It turns to ashes. Anything you own, any prestige you have, any position, any comfort, anything of value is eventually taken away. Slowly or ultimately at death. So it can't be your svarta because the soul is eternal. Therefore it has eternal needs. And those needs are never met by the material emoluments. Whatever you get. That's the fool's gold. You know the idea of fool's gold? This part of the country, especially Northern California, was part of a gold rush in the mid-19th century. And they found some mines and things and streams, and they were panning for gold. Suddenly, a huge number of people were coming to west to try to find gold, and become rich. This was America, the great American dream. So, and also up in Alaska, there was another one. So, naturally, everyone can't become rich. Otherwise, it would mean anything so good. So people are panning with gold, and they come upon this thing that looks like gold, but the wise and old prospectors say, "Oh, that's not really gold. That's fool's gold." But in other words, you place value on something that ultimately has no value, and that's exactly what people are doing in the material sphere. That's what Maya does. So, what is the real svarta? And so this is a very nice understanding. We are Atma, right? We are also Brahman. We're Brahman. Krishna is Paramatma, and he's Parabrahman. So there's obviously some relationship there. We're qualitatively the same. And really, the self of ourself, so to speak, is Krishna. We've completely forgotten that. He's in our heart. And so when we serve Krishna's desires, and his needs, he doesn't have any needs really, but he seems to have. For our sake, he comes on the altar and says, "Well, are you going to dress me or not?" In other words, it's up to you to dress. Krishna has unlimited dress there, unlimited Lakshmi is to serve him. But he comes here in the Archamurti form, and he allows us to serve him and feel, I have to get up and do the Mangalati sweets and all these things. I have to cook for Krishna, otherwise he'll starve. It'll be terrible. He's hungry. That whole thing. So we're serving Krishna's needs instead of our own. Right? My own need is I want to sleep. I don't want to get up at 3 in the morning. Isn't it 3 in the morning? You got to wake at 3:30, right? I used to wake at 86. Yeah. That's an austerity. You're giving up. She gave up her own bodily comforts for her master, devotion. And she did it in such out of love. It's just like, it happens all the time. Parents sacrifice so much for their kids. Think of a mother, You know, every mother, you know, as soon as they have a kid, the first thing they want is they forget about sleep, right? I've heard about this. The kids get up all in the middle of the night just screaming, you know, what's wrong? You know, then what happens to their daytime? You know, especially if they have to work, it's impossible. The present arrangement with all women are going out to work. And you're gonna have a baby, then you have to have your baby taken care of by strangers, and you can imagine what that does. So it's the same thing, but the sacrifice, because of, you know, the way things are set up, the women are ready to sacrifice for their children so much, and the father too. He's got to go out and work and make money. You know, now they both have to do. So is it? Yeah, it's an austerity, but it's done out of love, and therefore the people think it's worth it. And in fact, when you do that for Krishna, which is after what bhakti is all about, there has to be some kind of austerity. Because human life is meant for tapasya. That very word, tapasya, think about it. It means heat. Tapa means heat. So it's like refining gold or refining your heart. Some kind of tapasya is there. Compared to previous ages or even other Vaishnava, you know, it's not, you know, in previous ages, we're given a minimum tapasya. But what we're given, we have to do, otherwise we can't get the mercy of the gurus and really make advancement. So this principle is carried over perfectly into bhakti. And by denying our own physical comforts or mental comforts and sacrificing for Krishna, there's a higher pleasure to be enjoyed. And those who know that, they welcome the austerities. Because this is a chance to prove that you love Krishna. This is a chance to make advancement. To go against the grain, where it's always like the most comfortable thing, where's the sense gratification, what's in it for me, you know, where's the profit motive. This whole system, it seeps into everyone's consciousness. The capitalist system is the profit motive. You know, they even have, you know, these big companies like Ford or GM. You know, this came out with GM. They had one defect in the car. And I think it would start a fire in the car, or maybe it would just, right, or maybe, you know, you're on a highway, suddenly you can't, it stops working and it's dangerous. So naturally, I forget what it was, you may remember, it was the ignition, I think. And they, you know, it's dangerous, and people were dying. You know, a certain number of people died. They had, I don't know, at least a dozen accidents, you know, because they sold these cars. And naturally, after it came out, there was a suit, you know, they paid millions of dollars. And they all figured that into the cost. Instead of spending so many millions of dollars to fix the thing, recall the cars, right? Millions of cars are out there, which is expensive. They figured, okay, let them sue us. It'll be less money. Yeah, some people will die, but we'll figure that into the cost. This is how demonic it can all get. Because here, you see, the whole dynamic is profit. You know, you think we just watched this building go up for the last 6 months. It was like over a year building, right? For like months and months, it didn't even break ground. Remember that? It just cleared. I didn't know what's going on. And finally, there's a building this big. It's an old folks' home. Is what the building. It's taken so long that it's not really an old folks' home by the time they. But anyway, so how's it going on? This is working so hard. They're getting there early, you know. Yeah, they're making $25 an hour, okay, or whatever. You know, it's austerity and on and on. Build, ready, build. And now it is, it's almost done. You know, they're ready to welcome their tenants, you know, bring them in $2,000 a month or whatever they can start charging. You know, so how did that happen? It didn't happen at a devotional service. It happened because a bunch of guys got together, okay, we can each invest, or one person will invest a couple of $1 billion, or how many $1 billion is to build something like that. And we figured out over a matter of years, you know, 10, 12 years, we'll make our money back, and then after that it's pure profit. And it was all profit motive. They don't care one little inch about the people who are going to live there. Although the advertisements say, oh, you know, live here, the old folks will be taken care of, and all like that. It's all Maya, you know. We care about you, right? Because that's part of the attraction. So this is everything. Why do they build these sidewalks? You know, the whole city, everything you look around, it's all profit motive. This seeps into everything. This is not really civilization. This is I mean, it's very annoying idea. If your fruitive desires, those fruits will bind you. Your desires will bind you. All the people who invested in building up, Pacific Beach, and maybe made some money, maybe lost some money, whatever it is, all this real estate, everything. Most of them are gone now. The city's been here for, 150 years, whatever. Right? So at one point they lost or made money. But whatever it is the time of death, it's all gone. And all they've got left are like those ideas of what's in it for me. Nothing's in it for you. It's over by the time of death. They have nothing, in other words, what they have left are those fruited desires that stay with them and keep them bound up here, probably in those species. So you see, the whole thing is a crazy enterprise. Everyone ultimately loses. From the poorest, worker who's trying to make ends meet and has no inkling of his philosophy, to the biggest billionaire who's somehow risen to the top to his karma and whatever. They all lose. They're all losers. Because you can't take it with you. So what is a real swarta? And we have a real gold soul. And that we have to work for and keep our eyes on the prize. That's what vira means. That's what determination means. Don't deviate. Don't let the siren song of Maya take your mind away, and take your heart away, and take your energy away. So this is a great example here, because faithful, serving, confident that in the end, I'll be getting a great boon. Now this is just the marriage. But in Krishna consciousness, you find the reciprocation right away. If you just take one step toward Krishna, which the most important step is chanting Hare Krishna. From day one, you're going to experience something. From mantra one, if you're just concentrating and not doing it, the whole idea is the mind. You have to hear the sound and persist. Keep chanting. Even though your mind is saying, no, you're going to stand up, wake up, chant. That's the austerity of the age. That's it. In this age of Kali, it's an ocean of faults. Do I need to enumerate them? Again? Just read Bhagavatam. They're all around us. We ourselves know, how difficult it is just to practice simple principles of bhakti. Previous ages, people lived for a long time, it was second nature. Now everything is difficult. So it's an ocean of faults in unlimited ways. Pollution, you can study the climate. Basically this capitalist system, which is pollute, exploit, let somebody else worry about the waste, we got our money. That is killing the earth. We're living in an age now where it's going over a cliff, and the people who can stop it are just laughing all the way to the bank. I'm telling you, this is what's going on. So what do? Well, first of all, the devotees have a very small carbon footprint. The less you covet material things, living very simply, this is the best thing for the environment. What's the big of the vegetarianism? That's huge, And so on that level, we're helping. But more importantly, more essentially, we're living this philosophy of not aggrandizing more and more for our personal self-gratification. Minimize. Read the Bhagavatam right at the beginning, second chapter, first canto. It says, Dharma is meant not for, being very religious so that you can make money, which is Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. It's Artha. But Dharma is meant for moksha. It's for liberation. Therefore, you minimize your entanglement in the world. And so the next verse says, Kama sinindriya pritir. That life's desires are not meant to fulfill the sense gratification. Well, what are they meant for? He says, Jivo lavita jivata, lavo jivata yavata. Get as much as you need minimally just to keep body and soul together, as simply as possible. All right, then what do we direct our energies? Now I'm living simply, I'm not, going nuts over trying to accumulate. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. This word comes up again and again. This is right from the Vedanta Sutra. That tato brahma jigyasa, you're a human being, inquire into the absolute truth. And in other words, it's sarvatra sarvata. Everywhere and always. In other words, not just in Bhagavatam class, or not just in, when you come on Sunday, but at every moment, you have to be focused on understanding, serving, and realizing that absolute truth, which we learn at every page of the Bhagavatam is the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna. There's a whole world there, so there's unlimited things to know and inquire about. That's what we should focus on. Jivasa tattva jigyasa, the living entity should live to inquire into the tattva of the truth of the soul. Not Rajashekamapi. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. So then you ask, well, okay, what is that tattva? And then it's explained next verse. The whole thing is there. You may have heard this before, but I thought of this recently, that this whole Bhagavatam is there for the Kali Yugas. The question in the beginning of the sages is, please summarize, O Sutta Goswami, all these Vedic literatures of people of this age. They don't live very long. They can't keep their attention on anything. So summarize it. Summarize it for the benefit. So the Bhagavatam is that. But within the Bhagavatam, there's also wonderful little summaries. Because 18,000 verses for us is a lot, right? Especially with all the commentary. It takes years to go through. All right. Second chapter, first canto. If you can just get through that, you get the whole thing. And then from verse 6 to verse 20, 21, you have the complete lesson. You just follow that. We made a book out of it. Prabhu spoke on these verses again and again. It's called Dharma, the Way of Transcendence. So what is that Dharma? What is that practice by which the soul can be fully satisfied? Not that it makes some money for the alignments of the external body, but the soul. Well, it's the Dharma which awakens pure devotion to Krishna, the transcendental Lord. Or what kind of devotion? Unmotivated. In other words, for the pleasure of Krishna, because he's the self of the self, and if we do please Krishna, we'll become pleased. Beyond anything we can imagine in the materials. And then it goes on to the whole thing, and basically boils down to hearing and chanting about Krishna. So that Krishna within the heart will cleanse away all the anarthas. And then we come to that verse I chant in every class, Nashta Prayashu. When those Subhadras are cleansed away, not completely, but almost to nil, one becomes completely convinced. This is faith, this is nishtiki. This is nishtha, firm faith. You have enough realization that no one can shake your faith. The two things, Krishna is God, bhakti is the way to realize Krishna. And I'm going to try to follow it. Because I have faith that Krishna, even though I'm so unqualified, will give me the power to follow. This is nishtha. And from there, then you build with ruchi, everything becomes more and more tasty. Why should you stop tasting something that's so sweet and you don't have to stop? We have to stop. We have a wonderful sweet Lakshman sandwich or something. You could only have so many, then you can't eat any. Because the body's limited. Maybe prasadam, But the point is, there's no limit how much you can chant. If the holy name is sweet, it is sweet. The sweetest of the sweet. A sweet thing is the sweetest you will taste at any time. But you don't have to stop. The only thing stopping you is your crazy mind. Because the mind, is full of all these arthas, it wants to think about something else. It's thinking that while I was chanting my rounds. Is that, what is it about in the evening time we're reading from the Krishna book? That's part of our program in the evening. So we're reading this chapter 47, which is explained right here. This is like an essential chapter which explains or displays the mood that Lord Chaitanya had at the end there in Jagannath Puri for 12 or 18 years. 12 years, but he didn't go anywhere. And he showed the highest levels of love of Krishna and separation. That's explained in chapter 47. Uddhava is sent to Vrindavan to console the gopis and the other residents because Krishna is apart from them. So, and also so that he can see the highest levels of devotion. You see? And it's a wonderful chapter, and he consoles Nanda and Yashoda first. He sees their incredible devotion. And then the gopis are there, and he meets with them privately, and so Radharani, the song of the bee, song to the bee is there. So it's described there how the seeming pain of the Radharani is describing this, is speaking to the bee, and the gopis are in the agony of separation. But it's described again and again. This agony is actually the greatest pleasure, because Krishna truly is everywhere, and he can reciprocate from within our heart. Unlike